are more or less people watching the Downhill World Cups now that there is a paywall that is being put up? Now, from everything I hear people saying, it sounds like less and less people are actually watching the World Cups. Less, I guess, diehard fans are watching it. Less people in the industry are watching it. Less people that I know are watching it. But then I look online, I do some research, and it says viewership's up, attendance is up, everything is up. But I'm not sure if that's true, because I'm talking to people at the races. Obviously, I haven't been to a World Cup race since the end of 2023. Even then it seemed like there was less people there. The world champs were definitely still massive, but they always seem to draw in more people. On the whole, it seemed like less people were coming to World Cup races. I can understand how viewership can go up just for how much more readily available it is. If you have a streaming service like Stan, or I think in America there's Max, and there's this Flow Bikes in Canada. So there's different, obviously, streaming platforms that do have it. So if you already have it and you kind of, I don't know, stumble across it, there's more viewership in that way. But I want to know, are you personally watching the World Cups now? Are you paying for a subscription? Or since they've changed that format, have you dropped off? Because I saw a lot of people in the comments talking about this, saying that they don't watch it anymore because I mentioned I don't even watch it live anymore. I just watch the highlights. And I find it almost amusing that someone that talks about racing, who also did compete in racing, is not watching it to that level. I was kind of thinking why, and I think the paywall is part of that, but it's really not that much. But for whatever reason, I don't pay for it. It works out to be $15 monthly with Stan Sports. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have a Netflix. I don't have any subscription base when it comes to TV or anything like that. I just don't really watch a lot of TV, so that's all I'd be watching would be the downhill. I think there's a $10 setup fee, so it's $25 month total, which is not much. In America, it's $169 per year. In Canada, it works out to be $29 a month or $150 a year. In UK, now UK is quite expensive, £30 a month. Now that's getting on a little bit when it compared to obviously Australia. Euro, it says $7 a month or it says pounds, but I think that's supposed to be euros. So obviously different prices for different people, but I'm going to say this, and I want to know if anyone else agrees, but do you feel you're paying for something that you're not getting the return back on what you're paying for? And also the athletes that are competing don't get anything back from the subscription, from their more viewership, which they reckon is growing. But they say the viewership increased in 2024 by 500,000 compared to the previous year, which it was streamed in 76 countries across 20 television channels, accumulating 29 million hours combined viewing time. And then social media engagement was up 23%, reaching 230 impressions. And it says here live attendance was up for 365,000 spectators, with a 95% increase, expressing that they would return. So I just don't know if that's true with the attendance, because just going off the races I went to at the end of my career, it seemed like it was dropping off. And then I've talked to people over there. I'm going to get Reese Wilson on soon, and we're going to chat about kind of what the racing is like. Obviously, I haven't been there for a little bit, and get his kind of 2 cents on where it's at. But it seems like all this talk of it growing isn't actually happening from the people I talk to. I can understand how they want to make it the F1 more professional, kind of cut all these, I guess, amateurs out or privateers out, but I don't know if it's it. I think people are like seeing people that said they watched the live and they got bored with it and it was too slow, or they were just doing too much talking and they were missing runs. And I think if you're going to make people pay for something, you need to match the quality to the price, especially when they've got something for free off Red Bull for so long. So it doesn't sound like a lot of people are happy with it. I think mountain biking, like I said before, we all like to complain. I just want to see the athletes paid fairly. I want to see the sport grow. I definitely don't want to just sit here and bitch and complain. I want to see it grow and people get what's fair. Because the prize money has not changed since 2017. since 2017, and now apparently all these increases across the board. So they say. But you can't pay the athletes that actually run the main part of the show is them. And they don't get any increase since 2017. So to have the same for 8 years is pretty ridiculous. Now, first prize, you win €3,750. Second prize is €2,100. And third prize is €1,250. So it's a total of 10 grand distributed per race for prize money. And that gets paid out to obviously elite women, elite men. And I think juniors earn just €200. And 10th place receives €20. So it's almost insulting at that point. It's like, we will pay you. We do pay back to 10th, but we're giving you what a schnitzel costs. So it's hard because, yes, athletes go off their sponsorship. That's how most of them are paid. For someone trying to break in and actually make some money outside of the sponsors, there's no real chance. And I really think that this is probably going to be, if anyone does do it, but the biggest way to pull people away from the World Cups is just to offer more money. And I think you get races like Hardline, there's more races in the US, like the US Open, which are actually putting up big amounts of money. And it's just how long until that draws more people across. And it's the whole idea of being like prestigious or money. Now, I think if someone put up a lot of money, like if you had a $50,000 win or you had a World Cup, I think a lot of people would go for that 50K. So it's just whether if you get someone with a rich investor from Dubai or something to come on board and put some money up and see who would stay and who would go. But I don't know if you're familiar with who Craig Jones is, but he pretty much did this where he run his event simultaneous times to I always mess this up, but it was another event which is like the Olympics of jiu-jitsu, and he ran them at the same time, and his viewership was massive, his attendance was massive, and he pretty much changed how they run the events now. So if someone was to do that in downhill, I think that would be massive, and I think it would help athletes no end. So I really think there needs to be competition in that regard to try and get people to come step away from the World Cups and into something else where you can actually make money. But they did a survey saying that it's mountain bikers racing World Cups make between 30 to 40,000 USD, with top athletes exceeding 500,000 USD. It's probably Loic, and it would have been Gwyn when he was racing. But going off when I was racing, like when I first got into racing and I still had good results, as I think I was 20 when I got my first podium, and my first contract I signed, I think I was only on 40,000 Australian, I think, or 40 or 50. I think it might have been 50,000 Australian. I think it was like 30 something thousand euros was the first contract I signed. Now, that's not a whole lot of money. Now, on top of that, if you could get prize money for getting those third places or getting those top 10s, like as an up and coming kid, that's very motivating to have that little incentive that if you actually do perform, yes, you get bonuses from your team, but still it's like pennies to the dollar, really. So I believe that the prize money should be a lot higher. I've been saying this for a long time, especially now the fact that the sport is growing and they keep promoting that, look what we've done. It's this catch-22, because if you promote that your viewership is up, your attendance is up and all of these things, but your prize money is still down, that doesn't make sense. If you were saying, oh, everything's kind of steadying along, it's like, well, we can't really increase that if there's not any money coming in. So I find it pretty ridiculous that it's still going that way. The UCI Downhill World Cup is growing fast, more viewers, more engagement, bigger crowds, but the success isn't trickling down to the riders. You've got athletes risking injuries, training all year round, traveling the globe, putting on a show, all for prize money that hasn't moved since 2017. Sorry, that's wild. Top 10 finish in the elite men and women's gets you 400 to 3,750 euros. If you're outside of that or racing juniors, you're lucky to walk away with lunch money. There's more corporate packages and spectators are paying to watch. Shouldn't that mean the revenue ideally goes back to the athletes? But that hasn't happened so far. So they're saying here, they suggest that for more viewership, wouldn't you just do a percentage of what the viewership is over a certain amount that gets put back into the athletes? And I don't even think it should be the top 10. I think if you are in finals in the top 30, you should get a percentage of revenue going back. Now, obviously that will decrease the lower you get. But if you are in finals and you are part of the show, you have made it to this point, you should get something for that. That's what I believe. And I believe it's pretty much criminal that we have everything else increasing and the athletes just getting shafted. So that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I do read them. Apparently I'm a has-been. So I'm a has-been that just complains. But hey, I'll take it. I am a has-been. But I got some all right results back in the day. And I think this is pretty messed up that riders are still getting shafted. I'm not even a rider now. This doesn't benefit me at all. If they get paid more, doesn't change me. But I really think they should. I know what it's like to put everything on the line for something. And you don't do it for money, but you should be compensated for what you do. And if the sport is growing that way and you are the reason why. So, hey, let me know. But I think it's pretty... I was going to say something bad, but I won't. See you guys.